Miller with special guest. Good job, Jim. We are live on the opening night of NFL football. This is the Thursday night ticket, or TNT. Matthew Weatherby over there. How's it going? I saw you were on earlier today as well on some you call it the lunch show, right?
Yeah, so you'd have to ask Jim about that specifically. I don't know what the exact title is, but yeah, Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock during lunch. Hopefully you come join us, eat your lunch with us.
Yeah, definitely. 12 o'clock Eastern time, 12 to 1. And if that's, and we have some fans here tonight. They're going to be watching from Europe, so that's 5 o'clock in England, 6 o'clock on the continent. You see Saquon Barkley walking in right now. I talked to my guy Daniel. He's a big bettor in Northern Ireland. He likes the Cowboys tonight, I guess, because the line is creeped up from,
I liked that. I liked it a little better once it got over a touchdown. I think it was at 8.5, maybe even creeped up closer to 9 a little later today.
I think it was at 9.5 at one point, and then it's starting to come back down. It's raining a little bit here, so we'll see. I don't know how the weather's going to be. I got it early before it went above a touchdown. And look, it's not the way it was before, where you can bet it at -6 because extra points aren't automatic now. So like you almost have to take these games at -5.5 now just to be safe in case there's one extra point missed or something like that. But look, me personally, I don't know if it's going to come into play there, that extra half point. I think, the Eagles here. Jimmy Williams, love the show. Thanks, buddy. I think the extra, that extra half point might not matter tonight. I think the Eagles are going to be pretty fired up to raise the banner. We'll get to all that stuff because, we want to talk a little bit about the college and, the scene of the college game, which basically, I don't know if it was upended this weekend or whatever. Jimmy says the weather should clear up. But yeah, look, as the college expert on the show here, were you surprised by any of the games, or were you? I think, my surprise was that Ohio State Texas game was almost like a dud offensively. But Ohio State is a very good defense. Clearly Texas does as well. But, I don't know if any of those games, the LSU Clemson, before we get to this weekend's games, did any of those games kind of shock you a little bit?
So not really, to be honest, all that much. The game that would have been the shocker would have been Florida State winning. I thought Florida State was going to keep it close. It was going to be a fun game to watch, and they kind of ran away with it. In terms of the Texas Ohio State game, I may have been a little bit surprised by how low scoring it was, but it was also very clear early on. That was kind of the way that game was going to go. The play calling, especially for Ohio State offensively, was very conservative in its nature. And you could tell both understood, we've got a defense behind us, and Ohio State was the one that got the lead first. And so they were the ones that were able to play a little bit more of that conservative football and kind of make Texas make the mistake. And you saw Arch make the mistake with the big interception there as well. But they hit the explosive on defense, and they hit the explosive on offense. Ohio State did. They got the 40-plus yard pass for the touchdown to Carnell Tate, and then they got the pick for Arch Manning as well. You win explosives, you're going to win football games, especially football games like that. In terms of LSU and Clemson, I would say that I honestly thought LSU was going to look better than they did Saturday night. Not to say that they looked bad by any measure, but it was a little bit, it also felt just kind of a little bit like, all right, let's not make too big a mistake here. It's week 1. it's week one. We kind of want to keep things a little bit more conservative, closer to the vest, because now more than ever, we know that we can take a loss week one and we can move on, and that doesn't kill our playoff chances.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, that's why, these teams are scheduling these big time games early in the season. Look, Texas is going to bounce back from this. Now, if they go 9-3 or 8-4, you're not getting in the playoffs, but they'll have ample opportunities to bounce back in that game. Same with Clemson. Clemson is probably going to, run the table in the ACC. Whatever, it's not a bad loss, but I don't think they necessarily played very well. So that's one thing. It looks like my picture froze here. But some of the other games, the Notre Dame, Miami, down the wire.
So that one, I will say, actually did surprise me, because on our show last Thursday, I said that I picked Notre Dame because I thought Notre Dame was going to be the more physical football team. Miami won, and Miami was the more physical football team on both the offensive and defensive lines of scrimmage on Sunday night. So that was very surprising to see Notre Dame get out physicaled by Miami.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And I was at the Oasis concert, so I actually missed that game. But it is what it is. Trying to listen to it on the way back. Just basically what we're going to do with this show. There's no college games tonight because it's NFL kickoff. It's nice of them to kind of do that. So we're going to basically do 15 minutes tonight, and then next week we'll get back to the format where we kind of spend half and half, maybe a little bit more on the NFL. But we wanted to kind of give you a couple games to look at this weekend each. And we were talking earlier and trying to figure out, which ones they are. There's a couple that are pretty intriguing. The tomorrow night, LSU and James Madison, I just kind of wanted to touch on it a little bit. I don't think we need to talk a lot about it, but, James Madison has been pretty good lately. As they stepped up, it's a 14.5-point line. So, Louisville probably should win that. It's the 7:00 game. And then, next week when we get back to, there's going to be a week 3, NC State's playing Wake Forest 7:30. So it's an ACC game right before the show. Just kind of wanted to touch on that. But, some of the other bigger games, there's a couple early on Saturday, and at a couple of the 12:00 games that kick off that kind of both caught our eye. I think, one of them was Illinois at Duke, and, it's a small line there. And the other one is Iowa at Iowa State. Iowa State already 2-0 after their big win in Ireland. And this is a kind of game for Iowa State. If they can win that game early on and go 3-0, you got a lot of momentum going into the conference season. I mean, those two games right away at 12 kind of sparked your interest, right?
So Iowa State, I think, is interesting just because of the rivalry itself, and what the Cyhawk rivalry is it's really special in the state of Iowa. But part of the reason that it's intriguing to me, it's been low scoring, kind of a little bit more of a back and forth rivalry over the recent years. But Iowa State's had to put everything that they've got on film already. They had to go over to Dublin and they had to play a tough opponent in Kansas State. Obviously, last week they didn't have the same test. But they had to go and they had to put, some of their passing concepts on film, a lot of their run stuff on film, defensively, things like that. Iowa, I think, threw the football 8 times last week. They knew that they didn't want to put all of their pass game on film because I think they feel a lot better about their pass game coming into this year with the transfer from, I believe it was South Dakota State, coming in to play quarterback. And, their social media kind of blew up in the offseason over about a 5-yard out where the quarterback was rolling and successfully threw a 5-yard out to a toe tap catch. And they're like, hey, look, the offense has been reinvented. I don't know if I'm ready to go that far. I'm going to need to see it on Saturday before I'm ready to buy this Iowa offense in 2025.
the other thing, talking about some of these, and I was, look, when you're watching these games, as someone that comes at it as a better, that you see the over-unders, 39, you're like 39. You're like 33 or something like this. There's a couple that were like 33 or 29. You're like, wait a second. If this over-under is 29 in this game, I think I'm taking the under because there's not going to be that many points. Like clearly somebody knows something, and then it would be 10-3 or something, and you'd be like, man, how the hell do they know that? And it's just been, it'll be interesting to see if they open it up a little bit. I mean, they've just been built on defense for so long. A couple of the later games, obviously South Florida, for the people that are watching, on Sports Talk Florida, South Florida with a huge win last week. Boise State, burst that bubble right away. Really ran them off the field in a huge win on that Thursday night when we were watching, and we were kind of watching it together here. And then they're playing Florida. Florida probably is going to win that game. It's a 17.5-point favorite. And then remember, they have to play Miami next week. And then the other game that is interesting, I think, is the Michigan Oklahoma. I'm trying to find that. I think that's a late game, correct?
It is. It's a 7:30 kick on ESPN.
Okay.
Or ABC.
It's the two 7:30. The two 7:30 games that are the ESPN 2, ABC, whatever, that kind of that, maybe you're going to be watching one or the other. Arizona State at Mississippi State and Michigan and Oklahoma. Those are two. Obviously, Michigan, Oklahoma, they're both ranked in the top 20, so that's clearly going to be a big game. Arizona State going to Mississippi State. Arizona State, remember, was in the playoff, and to see them. Go to Mississippi State. They're a 6.5-point favorite. Early kind of test as it is to see where they're at this season. But both those games at 7:30 are very intriguing for different reasons. I think you probably want to talk about the Michigan-Oklahoma game. So what do you think about that?
Well, I'll throw one more at you for that late slate. Vanderbilt goes to Virginia Tech. It's a night game. It's the first time we're going to get to see Lane Stadium at night this season. And, Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia in particular, he was talking a lot on the offseason. You got to go prove yourself at Lane Stadium at night. That's going to be a tough task. No, but getting back to Oklahoma and Michigan, I saw today, I think it was on Get Up, there was a full slate of picks, and it was all Michigan.
Oh,
I don't see it. They're not there yet. They may be there next year if they can get some receivers, and I'm sure their NIL budget will allow for them to go get some receivers. But right now, their receiving core is not what it needs to be. And Oklahoma kind of feels like that team. It was a lot of sleeper picks in the SEC. Just be like, hey, kind of watch Oklahoma this season, see what they're going to do. And this feels like maybe if they were going to the big house, I might pick this game a little differently. But this one feels like Oklahoma the whole way. What Mateer does, they say Ott's going to be all right, and he'll be their starting back on Saturday night. And listen, you're going to see Bryce Underwood do some fantastic things on Saturday, but I just don't see it working out in Michigan's favor.
Yeah, I think if I was going to, just looking at it, to me, I would probably lean towards Oklahoma as well. I'm not a big Michigan guy, to be honest with you. They seem to take more out of beating Ohio State last year than they did winning the national championship. But and then Ohio State went and won the title anyway.
It's the beauty of rivalries.
They're still making the signs. Hey, Ohio State hasn't beat us and whatever. Yeah, but they just won the national title, so it doesn't matter. Like I don't, it is what it is. But yeah, it's a little bit. Look, it's week 2. There's not a lot of key matchups. I mean, that one of the 2 ranked teams playing there, I think is pretty big. And then, the following week you start to get, Penn State's playing Villanova. Like, come on, man. You got Georgia, Tennessee. That the SEC. You'll start to get some bigger games in the SEC. Florida, LSU, Texas A&M, Notre Dame. You're starting to get some bigger games, and then obviously once we get to week 4 and we start getting into conference play. Florida's playing Miami, obviously not conference, but it's a big game. Illinois is playing Indiana, 2 ranked teams, stuff like that. There's going to be more games every week. Texas Tech, Utah, that we can talk about. This tonight, though, I think is more about the NFL kickoff, and a lot of my people from my work, we're obviously based right outside Philadelphia, are at the game. I have tickets to 3 or 4 Eagles games as a Broncos fan, but it's a big night in Philly. You get to raise the banner, and you rings and all this stuff. It's Thursday night. Everybody's watching. It's a huge party. I mean, people were down at the stadium today at 12 o'clock. The betting is crazy. All the books have, by shout out to mybookie.ag, who's helping us here. All the books have specials. I got Jalen Hurts to score anytime at plus 150 and AJ Brown at plus 300. There's all these special bets. I mean, you can't bet like a lot on it, but money is money. And to top it all off, if you're an Eagles fan, you're playing the Cowboys, and the Cowboys just traded Micah Parsons, and you're playing the Cowboys. It's a massive game to begin with. It would have been. I thought it would have been interesting if they would have played Washington, because they just played in the NFC Championship game. It's a division game, but I think they saved that till later.
Closer game overall as well.
Yes, but these two teams don't like each other, and it's a fun game for the Eagles fans. Dislike Dallas much more than they dislike Washington. I think you could make that claim. How excited are you for this football season to finally kick off here after it's the Super Bowl happens, and I'm a big soccer guy, and the season never ends. For NFL, it ends in the Super Bowl, and then there's the draft in April and the camps, but it's kind of a dead period for basically like 6 months, and then it's back. And then, right away, we got all these great games. We'll go through them, but there's a lot of great games coming up. I mean, how excited are you for this tonight?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm in one of my fantasy leagues. I'm playing Saquon and AJ Brown. So,
Nice.
Really kind of crossing my fingers on that one. Hoping that like Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith have big nights. But I will say earlier on the lunch show, somebody made mention of Dallas Goedert. And I think he's interesting because his yards prop especially is fairly low, all things considered. I saw it at 39.5 earlier today. And the only time he didn't hit that throughout the postseason and the end of last year was against Kansas City in the Super Bowl. And Dallas's linebacker room leaves a lot to be desired. Personally, when you look at their depth chart, it's not something that, there's no names that pop off the paper, not any real difference makers as of right now in that linebacker room. And, they're getting back the secondary. Trayvon Diggs is back, Deron Blank, and their safeties are serviceable. But I would look out for Dallas Goedert if the run game gets going, which you'd expect it to against this Cowboys front. Dallas Goedert's probably going to get a lot of good work tonight.
Yeah, it's interesting. 50 plus yards is plus 150. 60 plus is plus 244. So yeah, 39.5 is basically the even money there, minus 110. Obviously, you're getting even money on anything because you got to pay the juice on it. But it's a lot of people. I talked to Mark Eckel, who's back in town, and we were going through some of these games because I follow this guy on X, and he's pretty good with stats and stuff. And he had some preseason stats, and he's like, I'm not betting preseason. I ended up winning all the bets that the guy put out, but he's like, I'm not betting preseason. this tonight, it's when everybody, everybody, like, I'm in a group chat with a lot of people from Europe, because once again, I'm a soccer guy, and they're all like, one guy's a Lions fan, and one guy's a Packers fan, and one guy's a Colts fan, and one guy likes the Rams and stuff like this. So it's like the one guy's a Bengals. He's an LSU guy, so he likes the Bengals a little bit. But they all. It doesn't matter where you're from. Like, the people in England are up watching this game tonight because they haven't had anything to watch, and NFL is so big there, and people here obviously are watching, and people all around the world. Like, everyone's going to be up watching. And then once again on Sunday. I mean, look, there's a big game tomorrow too. We'll get to that too, but it's a big weekend for all these people, and that game tomorrow night is at 8. I thought it was an earlier game, but it's at 8:00, so maybe I'll get a chance to watch that. But the odds to win the NFC, they're posting them right now. Eagles plus 370, Lions plus 600, Packers plus 650. To be honest with you, I would probably take a little bit of a shot on the Packers there at that line. With Parsons coming in, but do you have any thoughts on the NFC game? You have any thoughts on the NFC here?
Well, so I do like the Packers overall, but I will say the one question mark that I still have for the Packers is the receiver room. It still leaves a little bit to be desired. Christian Watson's not going to start the year healthy. He won't be on the team for, I think it may be like 6 weeks. I think he's on the PUP list, so he won't be ready to go. But I would be remiss if I did not say that I feel like the winner of the NFC is going to come out of the North between Green Bay and Detroit. And, maybe something pops for Chicago. Maybe they figure it, maybe they all put it all together. But I mean, top to bottom, that division is one of, if not the best in football coming into the year. I know, JJ McCarthy, I have my doubts about him as well, based off what I saw at Michigan or what I didn't see at Michigan. But, Kevin O'Connell seems to be a bit of a quarterback whisperer in that sense. So, and Brian Flores on defense is just the purest type of psychopath that you can find to run a defense. The way he blitzes, I mean, it's coming at you from anywhere and everywhere, any down. It does not matter. He's going to pressure the quarterback.
Before we get into the games, the tomorrow and Sunday, do you have any kind of I know you talked about Dallas Goedert. Do you have any kind of other maybe other plays for tonight that you're looking at?
Tonight I would probably have to lean Dallas on the spread. Obviously Eagles to win outright, and I would probably lean a little more towards the under. Just because if you remember last year, the Eagles started out, now granted it was in Brazil, but the Eagles started out, they were 7.5-point favorites against Green Bay. Obviously didn't cover that game. I believe the over did hit in that game. But it's just, it's hard. It's hard. I know they go through preseason and training camps, but the fundamental tackling and the fundamentals and stuff like that is always more difficult week one. It doesn't matter who you are. And if Philadelphia can't get pressure, that back end's a little green, to be honest. I think Sidney Brown's starting as their cornerback 2 tonight. And, Dallas went out and they added George Pickens in the offseason. So skill position wise, they have the guys to get it done on the outside. Will Dak have time to get it to be able to feed those guys? It's also interesting that this is going to be Dak Prescott's first, more defensive minded head coach, between, oh God, I just blanked. Former Packers guy and
McCarthy.
Jason Garrett. Yeah, Mike McCarthy and Jason Garrett, both offensive guys, 2 people that Dak's played under so far. So we'll see if there's a bit of a philosophy shift in Dallas coming out week one.
I just gonna got this text from my guy Daniel, who was in Bilbao with. He's a big Manchester United fan, but a big, huge. This guy's a betting guru, man. Everything he bets, it's crazy how good he is. He likes Prescott 300+ yards, 3+ touchdowns, and Cowboys with the line. He's got Barkley 2+ touchdowns. He's got Hurts.
How would I like to hear?
Ditto with Prescott and Prescott anytime touchdown. I guess anytime touchdown pass. I don't know. But he does, I think he has the Eagles as well in one of those bets somewhere. Very hard to translate what he's saying there. I'd say Hurts to score anytime was, basically I try, as someone who bets strategically, my bet, I'll give you an example. My bet for the weekend, because I don't, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Saturday, whatever it is. Like, I'm not a big, I'm not just going to bet a game because it's on Sunday night or it's on Monday night or it's on whatever. I think you just got to find the best games. So I have the Broncos -2.5, the Eagles -2.5, and the Commanders -2.5. So I bet them all down under a field goal. So they basically just all have to win. Every team there is at least a touchdown favorite. Washington maybe is close, but the Broncos are more than a touchdown. The Eagles are more than a touchdown. So basically they have to win. I believe they're all playing at home as well. So it ends up being a +181 ticket. And then I also have one with the team total for the Eagles tonight, over 30.5, Broncos and Commanders. Basically pays 300 +300. So I try to find, my strategy personally is trying to find like the biggest lines. Eagles, Cincinnati here. No, it's tough the first week. Arizona's a big line, but they're on the road. Washington, and maybe bet it down. And when I had that show on by the book bets, we did that basically every week. And between the two of us, one of us hit the parlay every week. So just trying to hit, whatever. I'm not trying to throw $1,000 down. I'm just trying to be positive by the end of the week. And it's always a good week at that point. Yeah. So Kansas City plays Los Angeles at Corinthians Arena in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Kansas City's favored. A lot of people like Los Angeles in that game. A lot of people like Los Angeles maybe to win that division. I think the loss of the tackle might hurt, but what's that?
I said I would say picking LA to win that division is a very bold prediction.
Yes. I think they're going to be better, but that division is better. The Broncos made the playoffs. The Chargers made the playoffs. The Chiefs obviously made the Super Bowl.
Raiders got better.
The Raiders got better. Until someone dethrones Kansas City, it's going to be tough. Look, Los Angeles has a chance to do that. The only thing is, Los Angeles just gave up a home game, which isn't really that big of an advantage, to be honest, when you play in Los Angeles. But they gave up a home game. And they're playing, both teams had to travel. So we'll see. But, Los Angeles has a chance here early season because Kansas City, remember, plays Philadelphia next week to maybe, punch Kansas City in the mouth. And then if the Eagles could beat them next week and the Chargers win, now all of a sudden you're 2 games up, really 2.5 games up with the Chargers playing Monday night in Vegas at 10 o'clock. So you think they'd probably.
I would caution against putting money against Kansas City.
Yes.
Especially coming into this opening game where you've got LA, who I think they got better at running back. I like Marion Hampton a lot. I liked him at North Carolina. But in terms of pass catchers, outside Ladd McConkey, you're getting a little bit suspect, to be frankly honest with you. And when you lose a tackle like Slater, that's a massive impact because it can permeate throughout the offensive line.
Yes, I think people are downplaying. I don't think people are talking about that enough.
Yeah, and it can do more than impact just one position, whether that be, you're taking a guard and you're kicking them out to tackle, which I don't think is what they're doing. But it can still, the continuity of an offensive line, getting a full off season with one offensive line, being able to play a full season with the same offensive line, it means a lot more than people put merit on. I think a lot of times it's just not something people tend to think about. And then when you flip it over to the defensive side of the football, they lost Joey Bosa. They've got an aging Khalil Mack and what I would like to call a no-name secondary, because aside from Derwin James, there's just no – you don't look at it and go, well, hey, I know that guy. No, you don't. You probably haven't heard of him. The only positive I would give them in terms of defense, and the reason that I would feel okay as a Chargers fan giving up Joey Bosa, is they have a rookie, and I believe he came out of UCLA, Tui Tuipulotu, and he was fantastic there in college, and he was really good his rookie year last year, and you would hope that he takes a second-year jump. That's kind of the same way you're hoping Ladd McConkey will in order to carry that receiving core.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And Neri Rodriguez is about to jump on. Neri Rodriguez from Fresh Cookies. And I'm going to see – we should be on in a minute here as we move to the Sunday and Monday games. And usually that Monday night game, the first week, is the two games next. It's next week this week. It's next week this week. It's next week this year, week 2, Monday, September 15th. You got Tampa and Houston, big game. And then you got Los Angeles at Las Vegas at 10 o'clock. Los Angeles at Las Vegas. So you got the two pretty interesting games next week, 7 and 10 o'clock. And people are saying, why don't they do this more? Don't give the NFL any ideas. I think that's coming because anytime you get more eyes on it, I think you're going to be able to do that. So
that, and as the NFL gets, the NFL and ESPN are starting to become a little more intertwined, and the more intertwined they become, the more slots ESPN will get. And that Monday Night Football is ESPN's slot.
Monday night, look, I mean, as it is, Saturdays is for college. I think they're eyeing that Friday night slot. I know they kind of talk about high school football and stuff, but the NFL is saying, like, wait a second, like, because how many? I think there's 3 Friday. There's one tomorrow. There's one on the Thanksgiving because the Eagles are at home. I have tickets to that. There might be one more late in the season. There's at least 2 though, and I know they are really eyeing that spot. It's another game they can put eyes on. They already have the Saturday night games once. Week 16, week 17, when the college is getting ready for their all that's the playoffs. And this year on Christmas is a Thursday night, so there's 3 games on Christmas: Dallas at Washington, Detroit, Minnesota, Denver, Kansas City. It's 3 pretty big games, and they're playing. They got all the flex games listed. There's more flex games than other games, so it's just you can see it coming. What they want to do and everything with the Sunday ticket and the NFL.
Red Zone has commercials now.
Red Zone, yeah.
ESPN.
Yeah, I know it's crazy.
And a thing later in the year that they do with those Saturday wild card games that kind of impedes on the college football schedule. I really don't understand why college football is playing games on like a Monday and Tuesday night. How have they not been able to work with the NFL in order to figure out a way to get, hey, college football is played on Saturdays. What do you say we play these playoff games on Saturdays too? Nobody wants to, I get it's around the New Year and Christmas and stuff like that. But still, if you've got work, nobody wants to stay up to see the playoff game that starts at 8 p.m. It kills ratings.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting, when Maction starts, in college, and they have the Tuesday night and the Wednesday night games. And, look, every game's on TV now because of ESPN Plus. But, when the games are on ESPN, it's a pretty big, it's still a pretty big deal. Look, we're on ESPN. So, in college, they have those Tuesday night games. They have those Wednesday night games. To get them away from Thursday and to get them away from the NFL games, which, because the Thursday night football for the NCAAs, used to be pretty big. Now it's just
they'll give you like a matchup. No,
yeah,
like,
next Thursday the 18th is Rice and Charlotte. Army, East Carolina, which is, Sam Houston, New Mexico State. They basically at this point now have moved games to Fridays. College is now impinging upon week 7 is when they start doing the Wednesday night games, Wednesday, October 8th. And then they have MACs and, it's not just the MAC now. It's actually not even the MAC, like Tuesday, October 14th, New Mexico State, Liberty. So basically week 7, once October starts, you got games Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday.
All those non-P4 teams.
Yeah.
Those slots.
It's pretty crazy. All right, so we'll start on the Sunday slate while we wait for Nair to get in here. The big game for fans watching in Florida, Sports Talk Florida, where you can read look for the NFL to have 6 to 8 games in Europe. Package they can sell to streamers, and that gives them 4 windows. 100%. Yep. Tampa at Atlanta, that line, Atlanta was actually favored there, and then Tampa is now favored by 1.5 because when Mark Eckel, who was a guest on last week, talked about how they could be 2 mild upsets for the Florida teams, and now the Florida teams are actually favored. A lot of people like that Atlanta team last year. In our work poll, our work fantasy, Bijan went first, which raised a few eyebrows among people, but I guess he has the 2nd or 3rd best team, so whatever. It's a big game for Tampa, and I think it's a big game for Atlanta. I mean, every year somebody says this other team is going to win the division, or this team, and it's always Tampa.
Just Tampa.
Tom Brady left. Baker's kept it going, and they've won some playoff games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's a credit to what they've built in Tampa. That coaching staff. There's been obviously Arians left, but since Arians left, it's been pretty much the same. But Baker's done a really good job. He's had the right weapons, and the offense has worked when it's needed to. I feel like that defense has gotten a little worse, as the years have gone on. But I think they did a really good job drafting again. I like Emeka Egbuka a lot out of Ohio State to kind of fill in. And, will Chris Godwin ever return to his some form of an older self? I think is a really good question to have, because if they do, then I think they have 3 legitimate options at receiver, along with Bucky Irving, who I like a lot as well.
But Kenwill Belandris, thanks for watching. Kenwill, which team goes deeper, Tampa or the Rams?
Tampa.
You think so?
Tampa.
I think the Rams.
Stafford's he's dealing with all that back stuff. He's kind of on the back end. You could see where, I can buy a deep Rams run, but that's more of a see it to believe it kind of a deal.
I just don't think that division is very good. It's not. Everyone's talking about. I don't think San Francisco. I think San Francisco takes it back. Arizona might be better. I don't know about Seattle. I mean, because they got the quarter. They got quarterback now. So,
Seattle is definitely like they
both
got
win their division. I think
they got worse this offseason. San Francisco feels like you're kind of like, okay, are they going to be able to return to the form that they were at a couple of years ago? I don't know. The weapons on the outside aren't the same as they were when they were going strong. But the Rams are definitely poised, and Arizona could surprise some people. Kyler Murray.
I think Arizona. Yeah,
they have the chance to really be much better than I think people are kind of giving them credit for coming into the year. But in terms of Tampa, it's more of I want to see somebody else beat them before I'll pick against them.
Do you Genwell, and please, what do you think? Arizona, just looking at their schedule here, the Saints, home against the Panthers, 49ers, home against the Seahawks, Titans, Colts. I mean, there's a legit. Let's go, gaming streamer Kyle Murray. Let's go. There's every chance that Arizona, like, I don't know if they're going to go 6-0. They could start 6-0 with that schedule. Saints, Panthers, 49ers, Seahawks, Titans, Colts. I mean, there's 6 winnable games there. And then all of a sudden, you got the Packers, Cowboys, Seahawks, 49ers, Jaguars, Bucks, Rams, Texans. You're going to lose some games there. But listen, if you go 5-1, 4-2, 5-1, 6-0, you're making the playoffs. So, and you might win the division. Who knows? Kyler's got talent. They drafted, I think they drafted all right. They got Will Johnson. If he's healthy, he's a steal in the second round. I know for sure my team goes 0-1 with the Chiefs win week 1. Oh, I don't know. We talked, that's a tough game. The Chargers, have a chance in that, but we'll see. Thanks, but keep the questions coming. Ken Will and whoever else, if I'm not pronouncing your name right, just please correct me. That's the first game. Cards and 49ers are going to be tough. I think the 49ers are not going to be tough, Jim. I think they lost a lot, and I think they've been very good for a long time, and we're going to see how good a coach he is at this point.
Big quarterback contracts typically do not bode well for the team giving said contract in the long-term success. For as much as people love to hand them out, they generally don't bode well because you can't build the rest of your team as well around them.
Yes.
And Brock did not want to take a discount, even though he should have, because he's not worthy of the money that he got given.
That's correct. Cincinnati at Cleveland. Cincinnati minus 5.5. This is a massive year for Cincinnati. Mark Eckel talked about this last week. Sorry. Is sidetrack question, but in which scenario in the NFL replicates the Steve Ballmer saga right now? I don't think there is.
I guess your quarterback taking a pay cut and going through a third party.
Okay, well, I will.
Team.
There is something that kind of talks. It's not the NFL. However, Manchester City and their 115 charges, they're illegally paying players and from offshore accounts, and they're right now they're at 115 charges from the Premier League. This has been going on underneath. This is clearly not the last we're going to hear about this. I'm sure it's not the only team that did it. The craziest thing about it is they didn't win anything. They didn't even get to a finals. Like, they did all this stuff and never even got to a final. There you go, man. United. Yep, we know that one. Pellegrini. Yep. They never got to a final. Like, they never even, if you're paying, what happens here, and this goes to what Matt was just saying, if you start paying your quarterback, look, the Cowboys right now, they had to pay Dak. They didn't pay him, then they had to pay him. And then, now they're hamstrung. When you start to have to do that, the Eagles, had to get rid of some key players. Now they have good players stepping up in the safety positions and the corners and everything. But this game, this sport is basically designed. What's up, Nary? How's it going?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
With this sport is basically designed to, not have dynasties, because it's really, really hard to keep that. Genwell says he expects the Cowboys to make the postseason.
Oh,
Nary, I'll give you that right away. You just jumped in the studio. Cowboys make the postseason?
Man, that's a tough one.
Say no,
bro. Nah. I know we ain't got a lot of time, so I'm just gonna keep my long-winded response to a simple nah.
Yeah. We know we got some time. The game kicks off. Game kicks off here in a half hour, so we got a little time. We started going through the schedule. We were at Cincinnati and Cleveland here. Cleveland. It's at Cleveland. The line's only 5.5. It's a huge year for Cincinnati. They've started so slowly every season, and a lot of people are picking Cool Joe or Joe Cool to be the MVP. Especially after what last year, you got the guy up in Buffalo winning one, Josh Allen and everything. It's a weird game to me. Matt, Neri, what do you guys think?
In terms of like this is a prime spot for Cleveland or Cincinnati to start quickly.
Yes.
If they don't start quickly here, you got to wonder, will they ever under the Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow regime? Because it doesn't get any more on a platter. You got Joe Flacco as their starting quarterback. Lots of questions in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're projecting Jamar Chase to have not a breakout year, but just have that, he was number one on the fantasy board all around. Listen, Burrow can do it. I mean, the stereotype, the running joke has been the offensive line. That's really what it's going to come down to for this team. And it's a shame that, they don't have any hardware. That Super Bowl was theirs for the taking. But it's hard to say if they'll ever get back there. But if the offensive line plays like dirt again, then it's just going to be another waste of a year for Joe Burrow. And, I'm not sure how long his contract is, but I mean, how many years are you just going to have an okay season? He's a generational talent.
I will say, in terms of Cincinnati, something that they did, I think it was Denbrock from Notre Dame that they brought over, the defensive coordinator. And, a lot of people put a lot of blame on Lou Anarumo. I'm not sure how much he was to blame for that defense. I think he is a really good defensive coordinator. I think you're going to see that in Indianapolis this year. But, they brought in Denbrock, and that Notre Dame defense last year carried them to a national title appearance. And so, if you're going to fix it, he's the guy to do it. You sign Trey Hendrickson. I'm pretty sure they worked out their dispute with Shamar Stewart. If you're going to put the defense together, this is the guy that you have to have put the defense together. Otherwise, I don't think a lot of them are going to be staying around to see what it looks like next in Cincinnati.
If it's 38-0, does Shador get in the game?
Why not?
I think if it's 14-0, he's getting in the game. There's an agenda, man. They how this is going to go.
Yeah,
but hey, if he could play, I got nothing. I got nothing to say. But the interesting part
is QB3.
Yeah, but the interesting part is, as the season's gotten closer, I've seen a couple people kind of nod to the fact, like, what if Deshaun Watson comes back? Like, does that just screw kind of everything up? I think
they got
we're kind of ruling out a possible Deshaun Watson return.
Before Deshaun Watson got hurt, he didn't exactly look fantastic either, though. It's not like he's a shoo-in to come back and just set the world on fire.
Yeah, I know, but still, just sitting out that long, who knows? Either he got rusty, he got more rusty, or maybe works on that. But I just thought it's just an interesting take that I've heard kind of just floating around. So I don't know. I think that would be wild.
I'm going to go through these I'm going to list these 5, 1, 2, 3, 6 1 o'clock games right here all at once and pick out a game maybe you like. Miami at Indianapolis. That line is flipped. Now Indianapolis is back to a favorite, -1.5. Vegas plays at New England. I know Neri wants to talk about that. Arizona at New Orleans. Interesting game for Arizona. I think, once again, we talked a little bit about that. Pittsburgh at New York. Aaron Rodgers going back to New York. Aaron Glenn coaching. New York at Washington. I don't understand why that line's only -6.5. And Carolina, Jacksonville. Mark Eckel was on last week and talking about how a couple of those teams in the NFC South, specifically Carolina and who was his other team? Carolina was going to be better. I forget who he said was the other one. Anyway, he said Carolina was going to be better. That's an interesting game. They go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's minus 3.5 point favorites. Nary, I'm going to let you go first. I know you're going to talk about the Patriots because I see the Patriots in the back.
Nah. But listen, it's a new era. New England, obviously, Mike Vrabel joining the pack. I was fortunate to see these guys in preseason. They lost bad to the Giants, but they didn't really have everybody out there playing. But, Ramondre Stevenson, he's going to be our go-to guy, but they're really, really high. And from what I've seen, he's promising is this Trayvon Hendrickson, the rookie from OSU, ran back that fantastic kick to open up the game versus I think it was Washington, but he's a promising talent. Drake May, I want to get your guys' take on what you think Drake May is going to do in his sophomore year. And like I said, we got Vrabel, and we re-signed a couple key guys. David Andrews isn't going to be there on the offensive line, and I'm really, really interested to see what our defensive coordinator coming over from Detroit has to offer. But this is a tough matchup. Raiders, Pete Carroll's there. You got the best tight end in my opinion in the league, Brock Bowers, over there. George Kittle's probably a hard 2, if not the 1. But this thing is really just going to come down to I hate to be cliche, it is going to come down to the New England defense. I do believe the offense is going to make strides. But my biggest concern is the offensive line. Our rookie guard, our first round pick, I'm concerned. I'm concerned if he's going to have some rookie jitters or not, if I'm being honest. But if they can control the offensive line and not give up too many points, they'll. I think I'm confident that they can win this one. What do you
Echo
guys
was
think?
one of the other. Yeah, Echo was big. He thinks the Patriots are going to make a big bounce this year. But go ahead, Matt.
I'm in agreement. And as far as your concerns about Will Campbell, the offensive tackle, the rookie, he started as a freshman at LSU. I feel like that should kind of give you a pretty good glimpse as to what he is. He's a dog by every sense of the word. They were worried about his wingspan, coming into the combine. Would he be long enough? It doesn't matter how long his arms are. He's going to see the guy in front of him, and he's going to make sure he doesn't touch Drake. Drake May, I would expect big things. Sophomore slump's a very real thing. CJ Stroud kind of went through it last year. It's something to be wary of. But in terms of Trayvon Henderson, from everything that I've seen, when watching him play off the field stuff, it seems like the perfect kind of guy that you want in your locker room. And he is that difference maker. Against Texas last year, going into half, man, he fumbled a football, and then he takes a screen pass for 75 yards for a touchdown, put him up 21-7 going into the half. It's that same kind of thing that you saw with the kickoff in the preseason. That's who he is. And it would not – I know you said Ramondre Stevenson's your guy right now. I think right now would be a key term because I feel like given enough time and enough workload, come that back end of the season, maybe even halfway, Trayvon Henderson's going to end up taking the lion's share of those carries. And also something that people seem to forget about, Stephon Diggs signed with the Patriots in the offseason. The offense is geared to be better. And as long as the offense is geared to be better, I have no doubts about what Mike Vrabel is going to be able to do with that defense.
What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, look, I think the Patriots are going to be better. It's interesting, from those games we were talking about, those didn't see Amari Cooper retiring. Yeah, he stepped down. He just retired today.
Dang.
Miami and Indianapolis, for me, look, when you go on that matchup predictor in ESPN, it's 50-50. The line shows it's an even game. Daniel Jones. What is he? The Giants were, is he as bad as he was with the Giants? Sometimes, you know, he had a couple decent seasons. I think, like, offensively, maybe when he got some help. You know, I just don't know. You know, Miami. You know, I just don't know what to think about them. You know, they got a lot of guys that are questionable. You know, do they play? Do they not play? I just don't know about Miami. This is like a game where, like, first of all, if you're betting this game, like, I don't know how you bet the game, but
you're down bad.
Yeah, but you can't, like, you gotta let these two teams, like, Danny Dimes is the quarterback there.
I think he's gonna do fine.
Yeah,
personally, I think he's gonna do.
I don't know
right,
how good
man.
Indianapolis is. I don't know how good Miami is. You know, if you told me at the end of the year, you know, one of these teams will be 9-8, maybe battling for the playoffs, you know, I would say, you know, all right, maybe. I don't know, maybe Miami. I just don't know that division, you know, Indianapolis division. You know, Texas is pretty good, obviously. So, or Houston, sorry.
How long do you guys think McDaniel lasts there in Miami? I think they were cool with the first 2 years, and I think everyone's kind of starting to grow.
You got to win. If you're going to be a weirdo, you got to win. Like, you could be weird, you got to win.
When did Miami get bad? Did I miss something? Offensively, they still got Tua and Waddle and Hill. I know people say, you know, well, Hill didn't put up the same numbers last year, and he didn't, but he was also hurt for a decent piece of the season. In that running back room, you know, Achan's hurt, kind of. Ollie Gordon got some good run. I like Ollie Gordon coming out of Oklahoma State. I like the way he runs. You know, Tua.
Michael played. I didn't have the Tua card. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Tua is like.
He's good when you have him, but he's a liability.
Yeah, especially if he keeps taking hits.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's a great talent, but I'm like, he's literally, it's almost like a ticking time bomb. Like, and my biggest thing with Miami is that, yeah, they're good in the regular season, but, like, you know, virtually in the postseason, I've never, like, you know, that game up in Buffalo in the cold was, you know, is just, I know it's rough because they were on their third string quarterback that year, the kid that was out of James Madison.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think when it comes to the Dolphins, they have a great squad, but I just think with I don't even know if a more seasoned coach, just, you know, I think a little less lax attitude, this team would really be a playoff contender, but I just don't take them that serious with McDaniels there.
Yeah, I agree.
They're those guys who are just better as coordinators.
Yeah, for sure.
The late window, the 4 o'clock, there's 2 4:05 starts, 2 4:25 starts. Tennessee at Denver. If Denver doesn't win that by 14 points, I'm going to be very upset.
Hey, Cam Ward.
San Francisco, Seattle.
Disrespecting Cam Ward, man. No.
They better be in the backfield going crazy against him. They gave my money. They gave my guy a lot of money today.
Benito.
Yeah, they gave him a lot of money, man. Yeah, he got a lot of money. The 2 4:25 games and the 8:20 game are all. I want to quickly pay respect to our comrade Stream East. Yeah,
there's only 1,000 more of those services that you can find.
Yeah, Stream East,
crack streams.
Detroit, Green Bay, I think is pretty. It's a huge game, week 1. Houston, Los Angeles. I think, you know, once again, you know, a lot of people think Houston is you know, Mark Eckel picked them to win the Super Bowl. That's a big game, and, you know, obviously Baltimore, Buffalo, the 8:20 game. I mean, those are 3 really, really big games, week 1. I mean, the game tomorrow, and then, you know, obviously Minnesota, Chicago on Monday night. I mean, really the last 4 games on the slate are huge games for the NFL for week 1. I mean, what can you say about those late games?
You want to start?
I mean, that, you know, that Buffalo Baltimore is everything. I think that that's gonna be a great treat. I'm not too sure about the Monday night game. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. Is McCarthy going?
I
Or did he
believe
get hurt again?
I
No,
believe
he's going, right?
he should be full go.
Yeah, I mean, like, we got to see Caleb Williams last year, and I thought he did okay for his rookie year, the first half. I mean, it's gonna happen, I feel like, sometimes, but we'll see what he does in the sophomore year. But the JJ McCarthy thing, I'm interested to see what he can do.
I think it's an intriguing game. I don't know, like,
Yeah,
there's I think Detroit Green Bay is going to be
I like
should be some
that.
points. Houston, Los Angeles, it should be interesting. Baltimore, Buffalo, they're going to go up and down the field, hopefully. Minnesota, Chicago, like, I just don't know. Like, it's a pretty intriguing game. Like, it could be, 13-10 or something like this, and it could be one of these games. I just don't know. And it could go either way. The way the schedule played out with these last 4 games on the day, I think is pretty interesting.
I would say in terms of Chicago, this is not the defense that you want to play for Ben Johnson's debut. Yeah. Just all the looks that Brian Flores is going to give you in terms of blitz packages. It's not ideal. But when Caleb Williams was coming out of USC, and this is no knock on Lincoln Riley's offense or anything like that, but he didn't really play on time. He didn't have to play on time at USC. He could scramble around. He had the time to make those plays. And you kind of saw that his progressions weren't smooth last year. How much has Ben Johnson had an impact and taught him how to more fundamentally play the quarterback position moving from USC? Talked about year 2 slumps. Well, there's not much to slump from based off what he gave us year 1. So, set a decent floor. Surely you can only go up.
I think people are, and this is one thing I talked to Mark about a couple of times. It's tough to replace 2 coordinators. It's tough enough to replace 1 coordinator on offense, when you've been so good. This is Detroit, obviously. Ben Johnson going to Chicago, but Aaron Glenn going to the Jets. You're replacing 2 coordinators. Remember when the Eagles I wish Taylor Smith married Spagnuolo instead so he'd retire from the NFL. When you have to replace 2 coordinators, it's tough. I mean, the Eagles, in between that year, they replaced
2 defensive coordinators
they started 10-1 and then fell apart. I mean, look, their defense fell apart a little bit too. Like, they had a lot of injuries. There was a lot of stuff that kind of played into that as well. But so we'll see. And is Parsons getting the shot? Is he only going to play certain downs? Is he going to know the offense? Green Bay, I think, has a lot of hype around them right now. That's a really intriguing game. Houston going to Los Angeles. CJ Stroud, that division. I think everyone just assumes Houston is going to walk that division, but on week 1, can they beat Los Angeles, and show really that they're a contender here? I think that's going to be something that is interesting. Obviously, Baltimore, Buffalo, everybody's waiting for that game. Excited, the last couple MVPs and, the last, 1-2 and 1-2-3, whatever it is. I mean, every year, you're going to have those 2 guys near the top of the MVP race, and they're going to put up crazy numbers and, expect it to be 40, 38-35 or 35-31 or something, somebody driving down the field in the last minute to score. You always expect that when these 2 teams play.
I think that Rams Texans game goes into OT. I mean, the Rams,
okay.
I don't know how, but every single year I feel like they're just so quiet and they're just slowly racking up wins. And, Puka Akua, like, talk about, I was wondering if he was going to fall off that cliff, and he really just stepped up. And the Rams, man, they're a scary team because they're also not afraid to throw down the stacks and spend some money in free agency. I've kind of grown. They've grown on me.
I used the term earlier when talking about the Chargers. I said no name secondary. That was kind of the way it felt with the Rams defense last year, and they were fantastic. I mean, honestly, the might have been one of the more shocking things of the NFL season last year was just how good that Rams defense was. To my knowledge, they didn't lose a lot on that defense either. And if they're going to make a run, it's going to be kind of on the backs of that defense. They had offensive line issues last year, but all of the skill position guys are there. You got Tay Adams, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams in the backfield, and Stafford pulling the trigger. And, for as long as Stafford can stay healthy, he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
And talk about these guys hanging with Philadelphia, in the cold, in the snow, like, no knock on the Saints, but the Rams were like, weather is not going to deter us from losing this game. So
I mean, I could fully have bought the argument last year that had that game not been played in the snow, that the Rams win that football game.
Yeah, I think you can definitely make that argument. Nary, what's your best play of the weekend here? Who's your best bet
my
here?
Betting game?
Yeah, who's your best bet of all the games this weekend? Who do you think is the play?
I think I'm definitely going Derrick Henry for the over on rushing yards for sure. Whatever parlay I'm gonna build, I like Derrick Henry. The Bills always have good secondary. I'm not too sure what they're gonna look like on the D line, but I am for sure gonna take Derrick Henry on the over for rushing yards.
Just before Matt goes, my knockout. I'm in a knockout pool, so you got to pick one team. Doesn't matter. You just got to win the game, and you can only pick them once. So my knockout play is Denver. So they have the highest line. They're playing Tennessee. They're at home, coming in off the playoffs. But I try to do that. But Matt, I know we talk. What do you think about what's your play of the weekend?
So I'll give you two. I'll give you one with a little bit longer odds and one with a little bit shorter odds. We've talked about. The shorter odds one is going to be Cincinnati -5.5. It goes back to if not now, then when for Cincinnati when it comes to starting seasons. Joe Burrow's had a completely healthy offseason. They added on their defense. They got Trey Hendrickson back. Shamar Stewart is there now, and he is healthy. I like their offensive line a lot better. I believe it's the left side of the offensive line. Georgia guys, you got Dylan Fairchild at guard, and you got Amarius Mims at tackle. And Fairchild has a wrestling background. You can tell it in the way he pass blocks and run blocks. That boy likes to get physical. So if not now, then when? And then the second one I would give you is DJ Moore, anytime touchdown scorer. When it comes to Ben Johnson and his slot receivers, they've been top 5 in fantasy every year. It just give me DJ Moore. You can take his yards. You can take him to score a touchdown. If you like the yards a little better. But I would take DJ Moore to have a day against Minnesota.
I gave mine out earlier, but I'll give it again. I do parlays, and I took the Eagles -2.5. The Broncos -2.5, and Washington -2.5. Bet those down. It's about +181. But if it's too late for you to take the Eagles, maybe throw in Arizona. I think Arizona goes and wins that game -2.5. But should be interesting. This game tonight, I think the Eagles win this pretty easily. Matt, I think you said the Cowboys probably cover that 9.5 at this point, right? Maybe late in the game, backdoor cover, something like that.
Yeah.
Nary, what do you think? The Eagles?
I got the Eagles winning this one. I think it's totally in their favor. The Cowboys, I think, along with losing Micah Parsons, it's kind of a circus right now. Not to say that they can't get it together, but this is definitely the Eagles' game to lose.
Yep, 100%. Eagles, though, they have started slow the last couple of years. They were 2-2 to start last season.
Yes.
They were 7.5-point favorites in Brazil. They didn't cover that against the Packers last year as well.
And they lost a boatload of players on defense, so we'll see how they can't count them out to repeat, but I don't see them winning back to back.
It's hard to repeat.
I said earlier today, I said if the Cowboys were to win this football game, it's going to be because that Eagles front does not get pressure and that relatively green secondary for Philadelphia gets got by Pickens and Lamb. They're not going to win it on the ground. Dak's got to throw the football.
Yep. All right, so we got kickoff here in about 9 minutes. So we're going to let you guys go watch, and ladies, go watch the game. Appreciate everybody watching here. Just stay tuned. Next week, we might have a little bit of a time change, trying to figure out what's the best here. Maybe give you guys some betting options, give you a little bit more time to bet here. So just make sure you're following us on Twitter. Let me get Nary's information. Nary, talk about all your shows here, because I got the Fresh Cookies there, Fresh Cookies Show at Fresh Cookies Show at Nary Rodriguez TV. Talk about all your shows here you got.
Yeah, so for those of you guys who don't know, I was a reporter here in New Jersey for high school football for over a decade. So I got kids in the league, made to Super Bowls, things like that. A lot of kids in college football right now. So Fresh Cookies is kind of I would say a comedic blend on takeaways that I've recorded, NFL ones, and then I do a weekly high school football show called The Garden Statement, where we highlight up and coming athletes that are at the high school level. I've had some kids at the collegiate level from Penn State come on. We've had some NFL guys. I interviewed Koo, the kicker from the Atlanta Falcons last season, hoping to get some more people. But yeah, man, I just love ball, and Matt, it was cool meeting you. Yeah. I know you're big on college football. If you ever have any questions, I could always give you insights, personal stories, nothing defamatory, but I got some good stories. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Can you tell any stories about the inside workings at podcast studios and all kinds of stuff?
Oh yeah, man. I've heard
certain podcast studios. Yeah, listen, they're bringing the trophy out here now, and they're putting the flag up.
Oh, gosh.
World champions, setting off the fireworks. It's pretty crazy.
I think it's time for me to use the bathroom while they do all
time that. To go. Yeah. So listen, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. And our Twitter accounts are right here on the page. And again, we'll appreciate it. Keep the questions coming. Again, we got our social
we love
media
that,
here.
Man.
And we'll keep we'll keep watching and all that stuff. And we will see you next week. For Nary, for Matthew, I'm Sean. Have a good night, and let's win some bets.